Right then peeps, the Bobil system has turned up. Sorry if anybody's expecting an unboxing, but when the box turned up it was ripped to crap. I've opened it obviously, but this corner was all ripped out when it turned up, so I wanted to make sure everything was in there before I did the video. And everything is. Right, so we'll start. I've gone for the kit with the diverter. This is the diverter. I'll show you where that's going to go later. But basically, air comes in here from your diesel heater. It goes out either that way or that way. Inside there's a flap that moves across either side. When it goes that side, the air goes this way. When it goes this side, the air goes yada yada yada. That's not particularly. That's an extra. I bought that with the kit because I didn't like the idea of hot air going through the heat exchanger, which I'll get to in a second, constantly, and having it bubbling away. Because every time you get a bubble, that bubble bursts. It's a little subsonic or supersonic shock wave, and it eats away at the metal inside. That's why boiling water is not good for heat exchangers. Anyway, these are the main bit of the kit. These are 3D printed, and your heater pipe clamps around that. And as I'll show you in a sec, these sit either side of the heat exchanger, like so. And the heat exchanger in the middle, and it basically blows your hot air through. Here's the heat exchanger. I'm sure you all know what one of these are. There's your heat exchanger. It's basically a radiator like you get in your car. You can see through it. You've got two water points, one there, one there. So your pump, which I'll show you in a sec, I'll get to it, pumps water from your tank. This is the tank, by the way, in case anybody hasn't noticed. Pumps water into here, out of there. Your adapters screw on either side, like so. And that allows the hot air to blow through the heat exchanger, exchange the energy from the heat with the diesel heater to heat your water up. The water's then pumped, as I say, out of here into there, or the other way around, it really doesn't matter. And it pumps back into your big water tank where you store it. Now, to facilitate that, for a start, here's the flap that goes in the diverter valve. I could have planned this better and got all this out, but I didn't. That sits in there, and when it goes that way, as I said earlier, it blocks off one side. Do it the other way, it blocks off the other side. So you got blocking off that side, blocking off that side, blocking off that side, blocking off that side. There you go. That's your diverter valve. That's all. Quite simple. Inside the tank, you've got silicone hose that will take the heat of the water. That's what transfers the water from the tank to these 2 points and back. You get a meter of that. This is the updated system. The lid that goes on here, it was vented on the original system. On this one it's sealed, and what they do is they give you an extra fitting. So you put this at the top of your tank, and if the tank overfills, it simply just goes out through the floor. Through the floor, not on the floor. So outside the van. These are your Jubilee clips. 3 of them go round this section of the diverter to hold it together. And the other 3, well, I assume they're for putting the pipe work on, because you've got 2 different sizes. You've got smaller ones and larger ones. So you've got one for the small, for the heater pipe, and one for the larger one to actually hold the valve together. So inside you've got these little electronic gizmos. These are the temperature sensors. There's 2 of them. One senses the temperature of the air. It's got a little temperature sensor there, which you push into this hole. Can you see that on the top there? That hole there. It pushes into there, and when the air temperature gets to a set point, which you set with all this, It then switches the pump on and this unit. This unit is set to the temperature you want the water to be set at, and when that switches off, it switches off the pump. Does that make any sense? When the air gets up to the right temperature, this one switches on, this one and the pump. This one switches off the pump when the water gets up to temperature. So switching the pump on, switching the pump off. Right, the pump. It's basically a tropical fish tank pump by the looks of it. It's very much like ones I've set up before for mates of mine. It's got little suckers for feet. It's got a little grill there where you can plug this filter into, so it can actually sit in the water to pump water from a fish tank through a filter. It's a very simple, very good little suckers, isn't they? They stick quite well. It's a very simple little pump, runs off 12 volt. I've got to get my own plug for it because it doesn't come with the plug for that socket. I've got some because that's a little 5.5mm jack plug. It's the same as the fluorescents that are up on the ceiling. Comes with a quick start guide. You get other bits and pieces. That's the bracket for the diverter valve over there, so that when the cable can pull the flap across. I haven't got the cable yet because they were out of stock. You get a bag of barbed fittings. You have to drill the tank yourself. You've got 2 metal barbed fittings that go into the heat exchanger there and there. You've got 1 plastic barbed fitting that goes at the top of the tank for your overflow pipe, which is the clear pipe there. You've got 2 plastic barbed fittings for this black silicone pipe, and that's to pump the water out into the heat exchanger and back into the tank. So there's 2 of those. And you've got 1 more, which is for filling the tank, which you need. You can either fit it through this hole up here, or you can fit a pump between your cold water tank and this, which is what I'm going to do. So this tank, if this makes any sense, will have a filling port at the top, which is one of these plastic barbs, which will then go to a pump and then go to a cold water tank, which will be in the back cupboard on the offside, driver's side, back of the ambulance. It will then pump water along underneath that cabinet, through there, fill up the hot water tank, and I have to watch it, because if it overflows, it's going to come out of that overflow pipe, which is the clear one there, again with another barbed fitting. I might have just waffled through that a bit too quick for everybody, but I understand it. There's much better. David McLucky, he does a much better walkthrough of the Bobil system. Go and watch that. I should have said that at the beginning of the video, but go and watch that. It's a lot better than this. Right, well, this is where I'm going to put the water tank. Then the lithium battery will go above it. I'm going to raise that tank up a little bit so that the pipes can go straight through this cupboard there into here. In that box is the heat exchanger. That's roughly where it will be. The wire piece is going to fit on to where the pipe comes through the floor. Down there you can see it. Let's put this down there so you can see better. I'll poke the camera in. Right, so that's the pipe's going to come up through the floor, go onto the bottom of the wire piece. The wire piece will then split off from that side and carry on and go exactly where it goes right now, to the air outlet back there. The other side will come off of there, run across into the heat exchanger, out the back of the heat exchanger, and out through that vent there, which is currently the inlet vent. The inlet vent, which you can see there, which is covered in fluff, is literally just a stack that comes up through the floor, and it just takes air from inside this cupboard. Well, what I'll do is I'll put another inlet vent in there, so lukewarm air is going to get blown out of there, and up here is just where air can go in, but it's further off the floor than that one, so hopefully it won't take as much fluffing, because that one's well covered in fluff. So at the moment, water tank, the pump will sit down in that corner, heat exchanger, pipe work, wire piece, heater pipe. So again, heater pipe comes up through the floor into the wire piece. When the trapdoor's across this side, the heat will go that way and do what it always does, travel down that pipe and heat the van. When I pull the cable or push the cable, the flap goes across, hot air comes out that side into the heat exchanger. Through the heat exchanger, lukewarm air gets blown out into the van. The water pipes and the pump will be on that side, in that small gap down there. There's a bit of a gap. I mean, obviously the heat exchanger can move across a bit to there, and then the pump can sit down in that corner, pump through that wall, you can see that wall there, and go directly into the tank. So that keeps all the runs really, really small, which is what I like to do. And I've got room to put my battery above the water tank, which is what I wanted. I didn't want the water tank above the battery. If the water runs out of that, I want it to run through a drain hole I'm going to drill in the floor. This whole area here is going to be, there's going to be aluminium extrusion running across the bottom there, all the way to that end. And then I've got some linoleum flooring, which will go down and create a little bathtub, so all the water stays in there. And we'll run out for a drain in that corner, because the back of the van's always up in the air, so everything runs towards the front. So there'll be a drain in that corner, which keeps the water in that section of van. And all the electrics are well above it. And then there'll be a pipe coming out that side. I'll put a pump in that corner over there, and then that pump will pump the hot water across, either through the bottom of that wall and up over there to a shower head, which will be used for the sink or the shower when it's cut into the floor here, or I'll run it up the wall and across in the cupboard. I don't want to do that because all the wiring runs up there, so I really want to be able to run the pipe. I may even run it out through the floor actually, so if there's any water leaks, it's always going to drain back out underneath. I could take it down through the floor, under and across behind the cab, up through the wall to the shower head, which will be on that wall roughly about there, maybe. I haven't really decided that far yet. We'll get the water tank in and see where that leads me. So anyway, that's the Bobil system, where it's going to go. I think plans may change, we'll see. I'll see you when I've got something else to report. Ta peeps.